Buying a used dirt bike can be an exciting and scary thing. Either you've never done it before or you've been part of a bad deal and got screwed in the past, and you just want to make sure your money is going towards the right deal. What's up, guys? My name is Berger. I've been buying and selling used dirt bikes for years now. Good deals, bad deals. I've seen it all, and I just want to pass some of the information and knowledge on to you guys. That way, when it's time to buy your next bike, you feel a lot more comfortable. You're checking all the boxes, and you can make sure you're getting the right deal. That's why we're talking 10 tips for when you buy your next dirt bike. Let's jump into it. Tip number one, set your budget. This is the most important step before moving on any farther in the process. You do not want to go in expecting to spend $2,000, come out spending $4,000 or $5,000. You'll be way in over your head. You do not want to screw yourself over. So figure out how much you're able to spend first. Tip number two, figure out which bike you actually want to buy. Are you going 250, 125, 2-stroke, 4-stroke? Figure out the brand of the bike, the type of the bike. Do all that stuff beforehand. That way, when you go to look at a bike, it's going to make it a lot easier to find exactly what you actually want. A lot of people always ask me what type of bikes I like to buy, especially when I flip bikes. I like to do 125 and 252 strokes, 2001 to like 2006. They're really easy to work on. They're not too expensive, and they have really good resale value. All right, you figured out what bike you want to buy. Now it's time for tip three, which is finding out how much that bike is worth in the current market, because you don't want to overpay and you want to make sure you're getting the right deal. My favorite place to look for used dirt bikes is Facebook Marketplace, but you can also use Craigslist or OfferUp. Another thing you can do in addition to just looking locally on your Facebook Marketplace like section is to actually go to a buy-sell dirt bike page that's in your area. For example, I live in Ohio, and there's a couple pages out there that are a buy-sell trade for ATVs and dirt bikes. These can be super helpful. Use them to your advantage. Tip number four, when you're actually looking and searching for these bikes, is to use a different combination of the keywords. For example, if I'm looking for a Kawasaki KX125, I might start off by typing in KX125 one word, KX space 125, Kawasaki 125. I'll do a bunch of these different combinations because sometimes people, don't list the bike a certain way, or they leave out something, and if you just type in one of these combinations, you might actually miss that ad. Tip number five, look for good descriptions and good photos. If there's just a dark, blurry picture of a dirty bike thrown in the corner, they probably didn't take good care of it anyway. So you want to look for people who took the extra time to write a good, thorough description and take it outside, clean the bike up, and take some really nice photos. You found a bike that you like and that you're interested in, so you want to message that person and just get some more information. So that leads us to tip number six, which is going to be asking a ton of detailed questions and some additional photos if needed. Here's a bunch of the questions that I like to ask. Feel free to use these yourselves. For example, asking them how long they've owned it, why they're selling it, if there's any issues, even if they're minor, when was the top end done. All this stuff is really trying to figure out the story behind the bike. Did somebody just buy this a month ago as a piece of junk and they're just trying to sell it real quick? Or, have they owned it for 3 or 4 years, maintained it really well, and they're just, looking to move on? That is really what you guys are trying to figure out when asking all these detailed questions. Tip number seven is to try and negotiate or figure out if the person is negotiable at all before actually going and seeing the bike in person. I like to do this a lot if the bike is far away, or if I know that the asking price is a lot more than I actually want to spend. I'll do the negotiating beforehand so I don't, waste my time or their time going out in person and seeing the bike and knowing that they're not going to budge and I'm not going to pay their asking price either way. That's just a waste of time all the way around. Tip number eight is meeting in a public location. If you're worried about just going to some random person's house, that's completely fine, and it's normal to ask that seller to meet you at like a police station or somewhere public. Now, if they give you like a hard time about this, that's usually a red flag for me. I like to walk away from those deals. Now, I've met at people's houses a bunch of times. I personally have never had a bad experience with this, but if this is something you're worried about, please do not hesitate to meet somewhere publicly. You're on your way to go look at the bike, you're excited, you want to bring it home. This is going to be the most important tip I can give you guys. That is tip number 9. Go over the bike top to bottom before handing anybody money. So what I actually like to do is I'll bring a notepad with everything written down. I'll check stuff off as I go. You can never be too thorough when going through and checking these things before you buy them. I'll put a list up here on the screen of all the things that I like to check. Cosmetics are one thing, tires and bars and plastics. I'm not as worried about that stuff. That stuff's replaceable, fairly inexpensive. It's the big ticket deal breaker items that are gonna be super expensive or super time consuming to fix. Bent or broken wheels, subframe, frame, that kind of stuff. Obviously making sure the bike runs correctly, shifts through all the gears. Engine cases are a big one you wanna look at. Up underneath, if there's like JB Weld on the drain bolt, all that kind of stuff is the big stuff you want to look at, to where I'm either walking away from the deal or they're going to have to come significantly down on the price. Tip number 10 is going to be only bringing as much cash as you're willing to spend. So what I always like to do is figure out if this bike is perfect and it's everything I want, how much am I actually willing to spend? What will I walk away at? and only bring that much. If you only want to spend $1,500, do not bring $2,000. Bring $1,500. That way you won't ever get suckered in a situation where you're overpaying for something or you're spending more money than you are actually budgeted or you're able to spend. All right, and one more bonus tip for you guys. If the bike or the deal is too good to be true, it probably is. If there's a brand new 2020 bike that, has like 10 hours on it and they're asking like $3,000 for it and there's no title, it's probably not true. It's probably either stolen or they're trying to run some kind of scam where they steal your money. Whatever it may be, if the deal is too good to be true, it probably is. I hope some of these tips help you out when you're buying your next dirt bike. If you want to see more videos from me, make sure to click right here. I do different bike builds, how-tos, and tips and trick videos just like this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.